Hi, folks. Welcome to Follow the Leader, a podcast focused on telling character-driven stories through the use of GM-less tabletop games where we can all take the lead. You can find us on Tumblr at FTLcast and at FTLcast.com. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/FTLcast. Today we're playing Chasing the Ace by Z.W. Garth. For those of you who are new to this game, here are the basics. Chasing the Ace is a storytelling game about what you do when the person whose shadow you live in asks for your help. It's a game about finding success in war and beginning to question what that means. Most of all, it's a game about relationships. I'm August, and you can find me on Tumblr at Strange Harpy and on Itch and Blue Sky at Harpydora, and my pronouns are they, them. Playing with me today, we have a special guest, Nico.
Hi, I'm Nico. I'm from the podcast On the Shoulders of Giants, where we cover a lot of mech media. You can find me on Tumblr at Nicomedes. You can also find OSG Pod on Tumblr at OSG-pod. My pronouns are she, her.
And we also have Zachary.
Hello, my name is Zachary Fredrickson. I can be found on Twitter at OffSkinandGod. I can be found on Blue Sky at Zachary Olsen, and I can be found at ZacharyOlsenPresents.com, a website that I have not updated in a year. You can find music at IamBugbear.bandcamp.com, and you can find my writing in many places, including on a major intellectual property coming next year. My pronouns are he, him.
Hell yeah. Our lines, which are things we absolutely do not want to see, are homophobia and transphobia, racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, violence against children and animals, sexual assault, domestic violence or intimate partner violence, unwanted pregnancy, and plagues and pandemics. Our veils, things we're fine with addressing but will just fade to black on, are steamy situations, graphic descriptions of bodily harm, and terminal illness. Now that we've got all that, let's get started.
Hell yeah.
No woos this time?
I can provide a woo. Woo!
I got Hosier's Nobody Soldier playing in my ears.
Oh yeah, that's an earworm right now.
Yeah, added it to our sagas playlist. It's good. It's good energy. Good energy.
Yeah, I actually had the fortune of seeing that live, and let me tell you, that is a hell of a song to see live.
Damn.
Oh, I bet. So, August.
Yeah.
How do we start? We've got a deck of cards. We've shuffled that deck of cards. We've inserted the ace card. One of them, I guess. Oh, the ace of spades.
Yeah, I was about to say, not just any ace card, the ace of spades.
Yep.
Yes, as Motorhead said once in the faraway past.
Yep. So Chasing the Ace is a Descended from the Queen game, which means that it plays fairly simply. You have a deck of cards and you draw those cards, and each card corresponds to a prompt that you respond to kind of as a character that you create. This one is mech themed. In this game, each player takes on the role of a giant robot pilot in a squadron. Over the course of play, you will learn about your character, their history, and their relationships by answering prompts. You will draw and answer random prompts to build the history of these relationships. Unlike some role-playing games, the majority of the action in this game is in the past tense, what happened that led you to the point just of the final prompts question.
The story so far. For decades, humanity has been fighting a war of attrition against giant, monstrous enemies known as Nephilim. The Nephilim killed millions in their initial onslaught. From the destruction, a paramilitary organization called Pyramon rose. With advanced technology, Pyramon forged new weapons to fight back against the Nephilim, massive machines in the shape of mankind called Echion. We are Echion pilots in Pyramon's most decorated squadron, led by the greatest pilot of them all, the Ace. Mission after mission, the Ace has led us to victory. Together, we have saved countless lives and turned the tide of the war. But something has come over the Ace. Tonight, they're going to steal their Echion from Pyramon. We don't know why, but we know they're about to do something rash, something reckless. They've confided their secret in us, their squadron. They hope that we will join them. With us, they say, they might succeed. Their actions are treason, punishable by execution. Whether they fail or succeed, everything we fought for could be thrown into chaos. Come midnight, the Ace will make their move. Will you stand by the Ace's side and fight like hell together, or leave them to face the consequences of their treason alone?
So the game doesn't explicitly tell us to talk about our ace, but in a lot of Descended from the Queen games, one of the first things you do is you kind of talk about the titular person, the ace, the queen, that kind of thing. So I'd like to kind of do that, you know, so we have a little bit of a feel of who we're potentially following or leaving to their fate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We don't have like a bunch of little portrait cards to choose from. So
I know, that's one of my favorite parts of For the Queen. Like,
Yeah.
I love all the little portraits with the different art styles.
Yeah. All right. Well, well, they're the Ace. Do we have a name for them other than that, or is that just?
Well, I think we're in an interesting game space, right? There's a lot of obviously Greek inspiration in this game. We could go there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also thinking a lot, obviously, on OSG, we cover a lot of mech tropes, so I'm thinking about, like, do we want to start with a trope and work backwards to a name? Do we want to start with a character idea and work backwards to a name, or do we want to let the name lead us?
Yeah.
I'm always a fan of, like, starting with a trope and working backwards to a name. I'm kind of thinking maybe it's one of those things where we call them exclusively by their call sign. So maybe we don't even necessarily have to come up with a civilian name. We just come up with the call sign, and that's how we know them.
Mm-hmm.
Is their call sign Ace, or are they the Ace if their call sign is, something else?
I'm open to either.
I like the idea that their call sign is something else.
Okay.
We're not going the Shinji Ikari route. I don't think that fits with what the game has proposed as the main
No, the
function.
Ace is a bit more.
Yeah.
Are we going? Is our Ace Asuka?
Oh, that could be fun.
I guess I don't know. I don't know how inspiring Asuka actually would be to people under her wings.
I think getting yelled at can be really inspirational. Sort of getting verbally abused into the cockpit.
Yeah.
It depends on if you got some sugar to go along with the spice.
Yeah. I definitely don't think kind of a fallen into the cockpit Ace is who we want in terms of a Shinji or anybody else who ends up there accidentally. And I feel like in terms of trope space, that kind of leads us with, like, could have a firebrand. We could have a veteran. I'm thinking a lot about Lunaterra from Heaven Will Be Mine as an ace. Like, she's an interesting ace because she's kind of war weary. So I think there's a lot of possibility there. Since so much of this game is about betrayal, it might be interesting to have someone who previously was a staunch supporter of Pyramon, like a staunch company man kind of energy.
The reason why we all got into this.
Yeah.
Which would make this betrayal even more, powerful. Of like, oh, you actually something has changed your mind.
Yeah, for you to have turned your back here, what horrors have happened? That kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
God, did they turn your mom into a mech? No, I'm kidding.
What about I mean, I hate to be like just go straight, but like Achilles.
I was thinking about that, but it does also make me think of I don't know if you've listened to this one, August, but Robot Jocks, where Achilles is the main character of that stellar film from 1990. But I do think that's a good space. Achilles, Heracles, Patroclus, you know, one of the legendary heroes. I think that might be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we could just call it, I don't know, like Argonaut. If we're the Argonauts or they're the Jason.
Yeah, just our beloved ace, Jason.
Jason.
Someone we met at a frat.
Yeah. I kind of like Patroclus. Although
well, isn't it? It's Patroclus.
Patroclus.
I think so. I know because I used to think it was Patroclus, and then I looked it up, and it was actually not.
Yeah, this is why I didn't go into classics. I'm being deceived.
I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's spelled Patroclus.
Oh.
Patroclus, meaning glory of his father.
That's kind of interesting. It brings a certain prodigal son energy. Of course, we haven't decided any genders, but like I do kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, Kleos apparently means glory in Greek, ancient Greek.
Kleos?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We could just go with Kleos.
Yeah.
I like that.
How do you spell it?
Kleos.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, because this is interesting. Patroclus from the ancient Greek, Patroklos, meaning glory of his father. A variation of the name with the same components in different order is Cleopatra.
Oh, I actually kind of like that kind of gender ambiguity there, just moving some pieces around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Wikipedia.
Kleos.
Kleos is good. So a veteran, like an inspiring kind of like legend. Almost. We were all like lucky to get into this squad, or we would consider it a blessing because, like, oh yeah, we're in Kleos's wing. That means we get to come back.
Yeah, I like that energy of like so little in war is guaranteed, especially in war with the Nephilim. But if Kleos is leading you, you are coming back unless something extremely drastic happens. I really like that.
Unless things break the worst they could possibly break.
I do like that kind of pushes an almost like push your luck energy on Kleos, which I feel like would strain over time. You know, it's just like, oh, well, every time you go out into a sortie, you and your squad always come back. So we can just keep giving you more and more dangerous stuff until, I don't know, a breaking point. What's the phrase? It's like, you know, the reward for doing your job well is another job.
Yeah, is doing your job more.
Yeah.
All right, hell yeah. Fantastic. I think that's a good starting point. If we want to leave it there and then define our own characters.
Pronouns.
All of them.
Okay.
And I feel like I don't know if Kleos is gender fluid or gender what's the word?
Ambivalent.
Or ambiguous. Like you know, who knows? Maybe we just see them with their helmet on, and people are like, "Oh yeah, Cleopatra, you're a woman. Kleos, Patroklos, you're a man."
I like that because I feel like it adds a dimension even more of projection onto them. Like, how sustainable is that as a person to just be like, not even just like you're a representative of this super elite squadron, but also like your very image, your pronouns, the way people interpret you is all inflected by this.
This is a person who is like, you know, the reason they gave for Master Chief never taking off his helmet is like the propaganda reason why that's where they show Kleos like this.
Have we seen Kleos's face?
I think that might be something we determine through play. I think that could be a really good scene on a draw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially because I think there are a couple in the hearts part of the deck that specifically ask about when we've seen her laugh, when we've seen her furious, when we've seen him upset. And I think that would be interesting as a moment where either we have to interpret body language or we actually see the helmet come off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, I think for our characters, we should at least settle on a call sign, even if we decide we want to find everything else out during play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have a call sign. Well, I have a mech name.
Mm-hmm.
Which is Nemean Cascade. Or no, Nemean Stampede. Named after the Nemean lion.
Nice.
I'm a fast one. I've been imagining I don't know if it's a Zoid, like a full-on cat mech, but I do like, it's very fast and it's got a lot of missiles on it.
Nice.
Like that, like missile barrage mood.
Mm-hmm.
I do love that. One of the great joys of OSG is seeing a lot of different missile barrages and getting to kind of decide which ones are our favorite. So I have seen a lot of truly great missile barrages.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a start on my pilot. I think I'm going to go with Iphis, he, him, based on the myth of Iphis, who was a child of, I believe, Telethusa and Lyctus in Crete, who was born female, raised male, and later transformed by the goddess Isis into a man. We love some canon trans rep, canon to the Greek mythos, but also a little nod to an old game I played with some friends who I think will enjoy that. But
Nice.
let me see what I want to do as far as call sign and mech.
It took a lot of strength for me to not just say Ligdus balls.
I like to think that is the struggle of any young classics major. Just
Yeah, my problem is I never went through a Greek mythology phase. I went through an Egyptian mythology phase.
Yeah. And obviously there's some cross-pollination there, but
yeah. So,
not call sign.
How about my mech being Persephone's Grace?
Heck yeah.
Sure.
That sounds good. Oh, no, I think Iphis is just going to be the call sign. Is this squadron one where we don't even really have names anymore? We just have our call signs?
Could do.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Ooh, Kato. Zach, you went for Kato for your pilot call sign.
I am Kato, yeah, which means wise and pure, and I think that is a aspirational name that was assigned to me.
I do love that history of call signs. More often than not, they are given to you, and more often than not, they usually reflect something you've messed up or something that is a lack more than like praise, which I think is a funny part of call signs that kind of gets lost in cool media where you want your call sign to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We did a game about call signs on OSG at one point, and one guy's name was Smokey, as in Smokey the Bear, because he accidentally dropped a malfunctioning flare into a forest and started a forest fire.
Jesus Christ.
Incredible.
So that is often the thing, but I do love when call signs are actually cool.
Let's see. Greek word for red. I don't like that. Greek word for water, Greek word for grandma, Greek word for earth, Greek word
Problem with looking at Greek words for stuff is that Greek words are like, I guess a lot of Greek words feel like they have been front ported into English in some ways, or just into pop culture in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like Terra. Oh yeah, yeah. That might be Latin. I don't know anything about languages.
Okay,
Mood.
I think my mech is going to be Ianthe's prize.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ianthe was the love and wife of Iphis in the story, and also, I mean, I'm one of the people who's read Gideon the Ninth, so I actually know how to say Ianthe. So
Yeah, I was gonna say that's that blonde from the fucking zombie.
yeah, the evil blonde, which is kind of an oxymoron. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. The Vriska.
Is that what she is?
Yeah,
Okay,
she's
even
the
I don't know.
Vriska.
Not beating
I
the
don't know.
Vriska allegations.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the Loch Tomb except that Tamsin Moyer read Homestuck.
Oh, Tamsin Muir. Long ago and far away in my darkest times, I was deeply a Homestuck. So
Oh, mood.
I have a little more
Oh.
history on Tamsin Muir than a lot of people do. So it's been very funny to be part of that fandom and have them like excavating into the past, which for me was, I don't know, like 10 years ago. Not that far past. All right.
I was there, not
You
with
were there.
Tamsin Moyer, but I was in the trenches.
Yes.
Yeah, mood. The reason why my Tumblr doesn't have the same username that I use everywhere else was because when I started it, it was purely a Homestuck fan blog, and I didn't want people to see my Homestuck shame. So,
Well, you know what, everybody? I'm out here. You know what I mean? Joined Tumblr in 2011. It's all still there. I have never deleted or remade my blog. I just live in my sun. So,
yeah, same.
I've just renamed mine a bunch of times.
Yep.
I'm going to go for Dex for my call sign because the Greek word for clumsy is adexios.
Oh, that's fun. And not going with the whole thing means, hey, there's a little bit of aspiration. Maybe you could be Dex derived from dexterous at some point.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it just got shortened as time went on.
Yep.
And I think I'm going to do she, her pronouns. I'm almost thinking Usagi from Sailor Moon vibes, where, she can be really competent, but sometimes she fumbles,
Mm-hmm.
which is how she got that name.
Saga's very good.
Mm-hmm. For Iphis, I'm thinking Iphis was a mechanic who got drafted in almost as like a combat medic for the mechs.
Mm.
And then over time proved to be, I think, a competent sniper. I think Iphis has an issue with close-up violence, and so he prefers to be on the back lines or helping repair things, and has never truly adjusted to frontline fighting and literally being in the thick of things.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Kato also has a problem with frontline fighting, which is that she loves it.
Yep. That's the best problem to have. Get in there.
Yeah. Kato, if you're gonna be Usagi, I think Kato might be kind of a Rei Hino type.
Mm-hmm.
Also with a little bit of Asuka Langley in there. She was like, I gotta get in one of those things. I gotta get out there. I gotta get on the front lines. No one else is doing it right. I like maybe like the daughter of like some general or like mech designer or some like some like figure within this thing, and so like was kind of raised into like, oh, you're gonna be a commander. I was like, no, I'm gonna be a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be in the fight, because the fight is all that is. If the people in the fight are not the best possible people, then we are going to lose the fight.
I like that energy of enlisted versus officer corps. It's like, I actually want to be there.
Yeah. And she had like super long, shaggy blonde hair that she like buzzed entirely off when she became a pilot.
Yeah, I think in contrast to that, Iphis has a little bit of like Bones energy from Star Trek. I think he got a little frustrated with mechs coming back in pieces due to basic lack of ability to do field repairs, but also basic almost disrespect for the machines. I think Ifis is a person who cares very deeply about these machines and how they work. And I imagine Ianthe's prize was probably, I bet, like, almost a project. I think Ianthe's prize was a mech that was sent to be scrapped and that Ifis recovered and repaired back into working order. I think Ianthe's prize is very custom.
Good shit. Yeah, I think Dex was drafted, like, you know, there was a draft, and she got caught up in it. Maybe fell a little bit for the propaganda.
Do you think it was like a draft in such as like everybody has to come, or was it like in high schools across the country or even the world, thousands of students do these like weird like aptitude tests, and anybody who scores over a particular percentile is like brought in?
That reminds me of Voices of a Distant Star, which is extremely funny because, you know, the protagonist in the mech is in middle school, and it's mostly because she passed some really good tests.
I like the idea that this was maybe early on in the war where we were hemorrhaging people, and so it was just a general draft.
Okay,
so
nice.
Maybe she's not been in the war the same amount of time as Kleos, but still, you know, seasoned.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Pretty
a
cool.
reason that she is in this squadron, which I think is cool. I think it's always fun to have a character who almost seems like a mascot, but they're in the elite squadron, and you're like, hey, why are you here? And then it's like, oh, here comes the competence.
Cool.
Alrighty then. Well, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, good place to start.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I've put our pilots in turn order because guest goes first. Okay. So if you would like to draw the first card, by all means.
Will do. Oh, and it's the Ace of Spades. No, I'm kidding. All right. It is the Seven of Spades. And I'll read that prompt. Let me get down to it. There it is. What unflattering nickname has the ace been given by their critics? Hey, I know we just came up with a bunch of names. One more.
One more.
Oh, let's think about our ace again. Oh. I think this is an interesting question that kind of begs us to think about what the media situation is around this war at this point. I feel like this is a war against an alien existential threat, which makes me think the media would be more sympathetic to human forces than they would be necessarily if we were in a human versus human war. But I do also...
Or even a human versus, like, understandable alien war.
Yeah. This is a weird situation to be in, so... Oh, I know what it is. It's cockroach.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
because they just keep coming back.
Yeah, and I think that's so, you know, we're supposed to think about the prompt as from our character's point of view. So I think Ifis has handled Kleos' mech, which we also didn't give a name, but we can do that later. But Ifis has handled Kleos' mech a lot of times because Kleos keeps getting sent out on these more and more dangerous missions. And I think the first time Ifis hears the unflattering nickname of Cockroach, it's like in the mess hall after he's just done a bunch of repairs on Kleos' mech and looks up and, you know, there's like this, like, I think maybe like lighthearted, almost morning news show thing that's on the TV that's constantly just playing Channel 3 or whatever in the mess hall. And they're trying to make a joke out of it, but considering the number of times that Ifis has, like, power washed blood out of the cockpit or, like, power washed alien gunk off of this mech, I think it hits Ifis wrong, and I think it strikes him as extremely disrespectful. So I think that's why that's an unflattering nickname, at least from Ifis' point of view. So I will note that down. Actually, I'm going to start some bullet points for facts we have about the Ace.
Pretty cool. Do we when that show comes on the TV, does IFAS like change the channel, turn the shit off, or is it just something that wears on him?
Yeah, I don't think IFAS is the type of person who wants to draw attention to things like that, and I think he reads like demanding that the channel be changed is like, oh, everyone's gonna know that I got personally upset about this, which I don't know that that's something IFAS wants to like advertise. But I feel like there's this probably like quiet frustration that this kind of thing is still playing in here. Like, obviously I don't want 24/7 propaganda loop, but like, come on. Like, everyone's just in here being exposed to this ambiently. Is it good for the new recruits? There's a lot of resentment, I think, building up.
Does Dex or is this playing? Do we all see this maybe, or do you want to do we want to have reactions to cards like that?
I think that's up to us to decide. The rules don't explicitly say.
I think that's something like other players are invited to ask clarifying questions and stuff like that. So I think that's not outside the realm of what we can do, just given other Descended from the Queen games.
Sure. Well, does Dex have any reactions to this if she sees it in the mess hall?
I think that she clearly takes it personally, even though it's not about her. Like, you know, just kind of like, what the hell? Who do they think they are? Kind of, I don't want to say ranting, but just like, it's clear that she's kind of seething. Sure.
Where does that leave Kato?
She spin kicks the TV off its mount.
Yeah, there we go.
Good shit.
I love this IFAS quietly seething, and Dex like, I can't believe that they're doing, and then decisive action on the part of Kato.
Yeah. This fucking spinning heel kick, bam!
And that's like our third TV this month. Like, come on.
Well, they should put better things on it.
I mean, you're not wrong, but
yeah, I mean, I can't be held responsible. I'm a finely tuned killing machine.
Is it like the equivalent of Fox News?
I don't know that I was going that far. I just, like I said, with like a morning show energy, like the way the Today Show can be so twee that it's almost insulting. It's like, really, this is what we're focusing on right now? I think that was the energy.
Okay, cool.
All right. And then I will pass the book off to Zachary.
Alrighty. Let's give it a draw. 5 of spades. What is something that people believe about the Ace that isn't true? How do you know? I think that people think that the Ace, that the Kleos is like genetically modified. Was like a clone, or was like underwent like gene therapy to like make her Kato calls her to make her like the perfect pilot, right? And Kato is like, well, my dad runs the pilot refinement program, and so I have broken into his office and I've read every file on Kleos, and Kleos came in stock. Kleos is unmodified entirely. This is all grit and talent, and nobody else did anything to make her as what she is except her. And I guess the situations that developed her into the person she was, like life, you know. But people want to take away that accomplishment and say like, oh, that's a designer pilot. No, that is that's just a miracle of nature.
Are there many designer pilots? Is this something that's actually feasible, or is this mostly in the realm of science fiction that people are kind of floating?
I think that there's like there's probably like upgrades and stuff. Like yeah, maybe not like a fully like a fully viable clone like grown from tissue person, but like I think they can do stuff to people that like to crank up their like reaction time, or like or change their nervous structure to be able to go for longer or something.
I think that makes sense. I'm actually going to add an element to IFAS and say that IFAS was augmented.
Yeah.
Because
I think a lot of pilots are, but sorry. You say how IFAS was.
No, I wanted to note that because I think that would make sense, that it's like, I think it's a point of inspiration to people who follow Kleos. That Kleos is like 100% USDA certified, just like really good pilot. When augments are really common, and it's like, I don't know that augments are something that should be treated as like a derogatory mark, or like if you use them you're relying on something that you shouldn't. I do think that there's like a certain disability politics in the way that people probably talk about Kleos. It's like, oh, clearly you would have to be augmented, and the way that people rebut that with, oh no, of course not, they're just a genetic lottery win for us, you know, like I think that's probably tough for the other pilots who do have augments, but it is also something that they're proud of their commander for.
Yeah, I think it is a weird thing in that way. Yeah, people both think that like, oh, Kleos must have the most of any pilot to be able to do what she does, while also having the least, and also a lot of pilots, like some of us have computers in our brains, and some of us have like, you know, extra muscle fibers implanted in our fingers. I bet like Cato has like some sort of like adrenaline like modulator.
I think that's interesting, especially since Cato had like that outburst.
Oh yeah, well yeah, because she fucks with it.
How do we feel about like performance enhancing drugs? Like, is that a part of the program?
Oh yeah, I think probably yeah. I mean, I don't know how tightly do we think we like plug into the mechs? Is there an IV like drip that is part of the like cockpit? Because I could see like battle medicine, like, you know, endorphins and like stuff being, and like, and even just like nutrient fluids and stuff, like if you're in, if depending on how long these fights take, like, oh yeah, it could be that a battle, a skirmish with the Nephilim lasts 2 minutes, or it could last 60 hours.
That's a good point. I do think of things like historically forced march tablets and things like that, where it's like, this is mostly cocaine, stay awake, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's interesting. I think it would be interesting if one of the reasons that people can rebut that, you know, they aren't heavily modified, they aren't heavily augmented for Kleos, is that Kleos's mech is quite old. I think it would be interesting if Kleos's mech doesn't have a lot of the cutting edge stuff. So it's like, those augments, the gene therapy, the special fluids and drugs wouldn't even be particularly helpful, because Kleos has a mech that's old enough that you really just have to have the skill.
Kleos is out here driving a fucking 1950s Cadillac, and we're all driving 2012.
Kleos out here with the clutch, and we'd all get in it and just grind the clutch to hell.
Exactly. Oh, maybe that's what. Maybe their mech has like a much simpler name than all of ours. Because I know we talked about you know, ours and like kind of the designs of them. You know, what if it's like the Mark I or something?
Love it.
Yeah, I do actually really like that, compared to everybody else having these like cool names of their mechs. It's just like, yeah, this is Kleos. He's driving the Ford.
Yeah, the Model T. Oh yeah.
Alrighty.
All right.
My toin. I drew the 5 of clubs. The Five of Clubs. What does Pyramon claim you're fighting for? Is it what you fight for? I mean, I feel like, you've got the bog standard where we're trying to liberate ourselves from this existential threat.
For the sanctity of Earth.
Yeah.
For the good of mankind.
Yeah. But underneath that, like, there's a level of, I hesitate to use the word genocide, but like, there's a level of intent towards eradication.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Dex is probably like fully bought into the surface. She's into the savior of Earth kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what Pyramon is presenting to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, this is for the saving of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's interesting. Dex is like, okay, agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. I will look no deeper into this.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things.
I guess my clarifying question would be like, are there things that Dex ignores?
I think it's one of those things where, like, in Sailor Moon, there's not a lot of there's some thought given to like the inner existence of the villains. And I think there's probably some indication that the Nephilim are more than just like a ravening horde, but I don't think Dex particularly pays attention to that kind of intel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get the really strong image of like, I don't know, a gurney going by in a bay where a part of a Nephilim has been recovered and like it's clearly being taken somewhere for some purpose, like maybe for study, maybe for, and it's like, yeah,
what do they do
it's
with
like
the bodies?
Yeah, what else is going on here? But also, it's easy to ignore that has passed when you're just focused on we need to save the Earth. It's like, I don't really care where secret things are going or what's going on in these different conference rooms or whatever. I know why we're really here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Pretty gnarly. Do you think
Unfortunately,
there's any
I
other...
was... sorry. I was trying to say, unfortunately, I was cursed by recently watching Pacific Rim Uprising, so all I can think about is kaiju parts.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna... I watched the first one. I didn't watch that one.
Oh, you don't need to. It's okay.
I heard it wasn't good, which was so sad because I was like, oh, hell yeah, John Boyega and a
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, God, history of a misapplied actor.
Oh yeah.
John, so sad. Anyway, do we think are there other like what could you be fighting for beyond protecting the Earth? Are there other pilots who are like, I guess maybe it's like, oh, I'm doing this to protect my family, but do you think there's other like ambitions that might arise in this defensive?
Well, I could definitely see someone who's scientifically minded being like, well, the only chance I'll have to study these is by killing them, but at least I'll be close to them. I think that might be an interesting approach for someone.
Yeah.
Sure.
And there's
like a zoologist who's like, oh,
Yeah.
I have to see them up close.
It's like if you love sharks and the only way you can study them is by fighting off the Sharknado. It's exactly like that.
By enlisting in the shark war.
Yep. Yeah, and I think there's the glory hounds, there's the people who are doing it for status, like they don't really care about like the fate of the Earth per se. They more just want to be adored.
And I mean, thinking about the fact that there was a draft, there are definitely people who are fighting who don't want to be here, and it may be only justifying continuing to do this by going, well, I mean, when I get out, at least I'll have some kind of benefits, I'll have some kind of respect, maybe I'll have some kind of stipend or something,
Sure. Does IFAS have any special motivation?
I think IFAS... I think for IFAS is intrigued in this because war is one of those places where technology gets pushed to the limit.
Sure.
There's a lot of innovation that happens when you are trying to iterate on abilities to kill people, unfortunately. And in this case, especially facing an intergalactic existential threat with unknown biology and things like this, I feel like there's a lot of exciting stuff happening in the field of mech research. Ifis is definitely the kind of guy who has not just like model kits of the actual like, you know, like war machines that everyone's fighting at. Ifis definitely has a Mark I model kit that they just like don't display, but they do have it. Ifis is also the guy who is getting like magazines about this kind of stuff. For Ifis, like being in battle is a chance to see machines really put to the test and to continue to help in the innovation and the iteration of them. Which I feel like is also something that maybe gets people who are more motivated by saving the earth or personal glory, gets their back up a little bit. Because it's like, why are you even here? You just like the cars.
Incredible. Very cool.
What is Kato fighting for?
To win.
Yep, 100%.
I mean, so it's like, I think Kato is like, there's like, these lofty ideals of like sanctity and protection. And oh yes, this is the crucible upon which all things become their truer selves. Sure, they came to our doorstep and they spit in our eyes, so we're gonna go and carve out their hearts.
Painted somewhere on Kato's mech is kick ass, go to space, represent the human race.
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, like down like one of the legs of the Nemean Stampede is the phrase "make them bleed for it."
I like that. Is there anything that Dex has on the Persephone's Grace that indicates their commitment to what they're fighting for? What she's fighting for?
I almost want to say it's like a wrist tattoo, but I can't think of exactly what she would put on the Persephone's Grace other than like probably something in Latin or Greek that's like oh, I know what it is. It's A Pluribus Unum.
There you go.
Just something inspirational.
Incredible.
Also, I like that this creates the space either for mech wrist tattoos or mech bangles, which I think are both beautiful.
Well, I mean, you know, it's a decal.
Jing-a-ling-a-ling.
It's but you know, what is a decal but a mechanical tattoo?
I like that.
Hell yeah. Was that one round? Just one round?
That was just one round.
Yes, clarifying and follow-up questions as much as you want, but yeah.
Great.
Okay, I think I'm up next. Let's see what I get. The 8 of Hearts. Let's see here. Also, I realized earlier that I did read the 7 of Hearts, not the 7 of Spades, so whoever draws the 7 of Hearts, you're going to need to do a switcheroo, but I have noted that.
Okay.
Okay, 8 of Hearts. What's the most frightened you've ever been on a mission? I think this is probably a situation, like one of the things we see in Evangelion, which obviously was a heavy influence on this game, is like angels will come with like weird abilities that change the game for people involved. I think there was an EMP incident. And I think it was the first time that pilots had to adapt to going analog to the extent that they could, forcing reboots, doing manual overrides. Suddenly there was such a demand for in-the-field repair reboots. What do we do? How do we get these machines that are supposed to be helping us fight but are now basically just huge statues? How do we counter that? And I think when Ifis looks back, it was like a transcendent moment of like, I solved so many problems that day. Like the work I did that day became foundational to the next innovations on these machines. But I also think in the moment, it was like pure nightmare fuel for Ifis, because Ifis is, he settled into Ianthe's prize, he's got all his systems going, he's got his augment going that's allowing him to actually process what's happening in battle instead of just being like, oh god, there's so many things happening at once, and then everything just goes black and quiet, and you're just in the dark inside this machine that previously was like your friend or your favorite vehicle, and is now like, this might be my coffin if I don't find where my manual release is to eject here, because I don't think my life support systems are running right now, And I think that moment in the dark for Ifis was the most scared he's ever been, and I think since that time, I think part of the reason our squadron is so survivable is because Ifis went a little bit mad scientist after that and didn't get a lot of sleep and built in more redundancies and protections into the squad's mechs against things like EMPs.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, we can keep that one shorter if we want to go to Zach.
Well, I don't know.
Well, we went really long on the other one. I'm like, hey, if you're like good with me just being like, yeah, there was an EMP once and it traumatized your mechanics, so absolutely.
Sure. No, I mean, because I'm like, on one hand, I think my impulse is to be like, okay, and what's all of our answers for every question? But I don't. That might not actually be the intended play space of the game.
I do like with For the Queen games that it creates a kind of historiography if you only answer from kind of your perspective, and if questions only focus on your perspective, because you can end up with conflicting accounts, which is kind of fun. But
Sure.
however we want to play it. Otherwise, if there's
I kind of want to know, like, for Ifis, is there... I know that he went, like, mad scientist, but are there any other lingering side effects? Like, does Ifis have PTSD from this?
I think Ifis always sleeps with the light on now. And hates it because he feels a little childish. He's like, oh, great, I need a nightlight. I think it's probably a thing where, like, he leaves a monitor on, and it could be excused as like, oh, careless, accidentally, I got too tired and I left my monitor on. But for him, it is just so that he's never in a space that is completely without light again, in the way that the cockpit was when that hit.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. That's understandable.
All right. Zachary, you want to draw?
Yes, I will draw. What do we got? The King of Diamonds. How is your position in the squad different from others? How does the ace treat you differently? Well, that makes sense. I'm the only one who's like an heiress, or at least I have some sort of hereditary. We're not. We don't have a line of succession in Pyramon, but it's not untrue that my father is like up there. I don't know that he's Gendo, but he's certainly in the room. I was thinking,
Nepo baby.
Nepo baby.
Yeah, well, I think I wrote in the thing, high profile figure. So I don't know what exactly his role is. And yeah, I think a lot of pilots in the program consider me to be a Nepo baby. They're like, oh, this is weird thrill seeker princess who, like, her fucked up weird dad let her become a frontline fighter. And I think the thing about Ace is that Ace, like, looked at me and saw that I was here because I wanted to be here, not because, like, and like, even outside of his, he doesn't want me here. I'm here for me. And I think Ace is the one person, or at least the first person, who, like, acknowledged my independent personhood as, like, something other than an instrument of, like, family legacy.
Does Kleos put you in positions that endanger or challenge you in contrast to being coddled by others?
Yeah, I don't know if she like necessarily actively endangers me, but I definitely I think like first mission we ran, she was like, you're on my squad. There are no kid gloves on my squad. There are no we are going into deadly danger, and I will expect you to stand up to that danger and like to push through it without me needing to be the one to, and like she says that, but like also she's constantly saving us.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still like, I'm not going to save you. It's like, I mean, you do though. But also like you have to be able to save yourself. And I think she like, yeah, I think it's challenged for sure.
I think that's probably a good feeling, right? Like very rarely in life do we get challenged by people, but also know that if we fail, we're still going to have their support.
Mm-hmm.
I think that probably creates a really special relationship for Cato and Kleos.
Absolutely. Do you think Iphis and Dex, did you think what other pilots think when I first joined? Because I imagine you're both older, and Dex for sure is more seasoned. I imagine Iphis is, if not contemporary, maybe a little older than me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't know about Dex, but I know Iphis, I think, hated Cato at first. I think
Sure.
Cato is exactly the kind of pilot that pisses Iphis off the most, because it's like, oh, you wanted to do a stunt, and you've created an issue where we have to back order like 7 parts that like we don't have readily available, and you weren't thinking about it when you did your fun little stunt, but now you're not going to get to do stunts for a while because I have to sit here and complete. I'm 3D printing new parts for you right now, and it's going to take a few hours. So I definitely think Iphis had a lot of frustration with Cato, but I think as time went on, and Iphis is a sniper, so I think Iphis is a sniper, Iphis is a mechanic, Iphis is a person who likes to observe. So I think over time, he got a better sense of kind of what Cato's deal was and what the dynamic was with Kleos. And I feel like Kleos also maybe sets a example for how the rest of the squadron should treat each other. And so it's almost useful to observe how Kleos is regarding any given person to understand maybe what you should look for in them instead of just immediately dismissing them.
Yeah, and I do. Yeah, I think. Yeah, she's like, Cato is definitely like, burns out parts, overclock stuff. But it's like a pilot's responsibility is to use every piece of equipment to the utmost extent that it can be used for the purposes of the mission succeeding. And did the mission succeed?
Yes. And I think that's where Iphis over time has to like relent, because it's like, you know what, you are getting results, and every time I have to fix something on your machine, every time I have to fix something on the Nemean Stampede, it comes back a better machine, and I am proud of the work I do on that. So
yeah.
What about Dex?
I think Dex thought that Cato was a plant, like,
oh sure, like to keep an eye on all of you.
Yeah. So I think she was.
I thought for a second you meant like an industry plant. Like,
no,
they put Cato in as a stunt, a publicity stunt.
No, I think, because of her connection to somebody who's higher up, I think that Dex thought that she was, like, they didn't trust Kleos. And so, Cato was there to keep an eye on us and report back to her dad. But, that I don't know how quickly she got disabused of that notion, but she eventually let go of that as, they got to be the tight-knit squadron that they are today.
Oh, yeah. All right. I'm pretty satisfied with that.
Hell yeah. To be continued.